My husband leaned against the kitchen counter, a casual smile on his face, and said, "My ex is coming to Christmas dinner this year." I blinked, pretending to be surprised. "Oh, of course," I said softly, smiling sweetly. On the outside, I looked calm, composed, even warm. But inside, my mind was spinning. For months, I had planned this Christmas dinner with one goal in mind: to show that I wasn't just calm, I was clever, poised, and in control. I had spent years watching my husband's ex try to subtly undermine me. Every holiday, every gathering, she somehow inserted herself into our lives, creating tension where there should have been joy. She thrived on drama, and I had once allowed her manipulation to bother me, but I had changed. I was no longer the anxious, insecure woman who cried quietly in her bedroom while everyone else laughed and celebrated that night. I remembered the first time she came into our lives during a holiday party years ago. She smiled at me, all sugar and sweetness, and whispered a comment that made my husband chuckle. I had laughed nervously, trying to match her charm, but inside I felt invisible. That night I cried alone, wondering if I would always be second best in my own home. But years of reflection and resilience had taught me something. Calm confidence and clever planning are more powerful than anger or confrontation. That's why, when my husband casually mentioned her arrival, I had already set a plan in motion. A plan that would shift the balance entirely without me ever raising my voice. The first step was subtle. I invited her fiance to dinner. She'd been dating him quietly for months, and I knew she wouldn't expect me to involve him. I sent a polite, seemingly innocent message. "It would be wonderful if you could join us for Christmas dinner. Hope you can make it." I didn't reveal it was a surprise for her. I didn't tell my husband. This was my quiet, clever victory in motion. The week leading up to Christmas was a blur of meticulous planning. I decorated our home with warm lights and festive ornaments, set the table like a magazine spread, and prepared dishes that would impress even the most critical eyes. Every detail mattered: the polished silverware, the folded napkins, the perfectly roasted turkey, the aromatic spices wafting from the oven. I even made her favorite dessert, a subtle gesture of kindness that masked the clever trap I had laid. On Christmas Eve, my husband paced nervously around the living room. His tie was crooked, his hands trembled slightly as he adjusted it. "Do you think she'll be early?" he asked, anxiety evident in his tone. I smiled, calm and reassuring. "Who knows? But don't worry, everything will be fine. Just relax and enjoy the evening." The first bell rang. My husband hurried to the door, and there she was, his ex. She stood on the porch, radiant, dressed in a red outfit that hugged her figure perfectly, hair styled immaculately, and a smile that seemed to declare, "I've arrived, and everything revolves around me." I greeted her warmly. "It's so lovely to see you," I said, holding out my hand. My smile was genuine, my tone sweet, but inside my heart raced with anticipation. She stepped inside, scanning the living room as if marking her territory. "Merry Christmas," she said, her eyes flicking to my husband with that familiar triumphant glint. Come in," I said cheerfully. "Dinner will be ready soon." As we settled into the living room, I made casual conversation, keeping my tone light and friendly. My husband's discomfort was subtle, but clear. He glanced at me occasionally, sensing that something was off, but he had no idea what was about to happen. Then the moment arrived. I excused myself for a brief moment and returned, smiling calmly with my final surprise: her fiancé. Time seemed to freeze. Her smile faltered, a flicker of disbelief crossing her face. Her fiancé blinked, clearly caught off guard, unsure if this was part of the plan. My husband's jaw dropped. For the first time in years, he was speechless. I thought it would be nice if you both celebrated together, I said softly, deliberately, letting each word hang in the air. I invited him too. The ex's face turned pale. She tried to mask her shock with a forced laugh, but it faltered, leaving her flustered and uncertain. My husband couldn't find his words. He opened his mouth, then closed it, eyes wide as he realized the clever twist I had orchestrated. I guided everyone to the dinner table, my smile calm and collected. Every gesture, every compliment, every polite word was layered with subtle power. The ex sat quietly, clearly uncomfortable. Her fiancé looked pleasantly surprised, while my husband, for the first time, was humbled and silent. Dinner unfolded slowly, each course a stage for my quiet triumph. I remained warm, attentive, and composed while tension rippled quietly beneath the surface. The ex's poised exterior cracked in small ways, a trembling hand reaching for wine, a laugh that sounded forced, eyes darting nervously toward me. I watched, barely moving, letting her unravel in her own time. When dessert arrived, a rich chocolate cake with delicate decorations, I noticed her hands shaking slightly. As she reached for her fork, I leaned in with a sweet, calm smile. I hope you're enjoying yourself, I said softly, my voice gentle, but my eyes sharp. Her fiancé smiled at me warmly, appreciating the calm and elegance I radiated. My husband sat across from me, stunned, unsure whether to be angry, impressed, or amazed. After dessert, the evening wound down. The ex and her fiancé left, the former still flustered, the latter polite and slightly confused. My husband turned to me, speechless, shaking his head in disbelief. I I can't believe you did that, he said, voice low and awed. I shrugged lightly, smiling. Sometimes the best way to handle someone who thrives on chaos is to stay in calm. Think ahead and let life handle the rest. Later, as I cleared the table and washed the last of the dishes, I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Not just from the fire in the hearth or the festive decorations, but from knowing I had held my ground, protected my home, and done so with grace. Life is full of moments where we feel powerless, moments where others try to overshadow us, and moments where we feel invisible. But that Christmas, I realized something profound. Strength doesn't have to shout. Calm confidence, clever planning, and quiet resilience are louder than any words or drama ever could. I remember the nights I had cried quietly in my bedroom, the times I had questioned my worth, and the moments when I had doubted whether I could ever feel truly seen. Now I smiled at the memory, not in bitterness, but in triumph. I had changed, I had grown, and that calm, quiet power I had cultivated was my victory. The next morning, I sat by the window, the soft morning light streaming in, and reflected on the night before. My husband had watched speechless as I orchestrated a moment that no one saw coming. My ex had left humbled, and I had remained poised, confident, and fully in control. For the first time, I felt completely at peace. Sometimes life throws challenges our way, not to break us, but to show us our own strength. That night, I learned that subtlety can be more powerful than confrontation, and quiet confidence can leave a mark far deeper than any loud words ever could. As the snow fell softly outside, dusting our home in white, I felt a sense of completion. Not revenge, not triumph over another, but quiet, personal victory. I had maintained my dignity, orchestrated a clever plan, and emerged stronger, calmer, and more confident than ever. Life is a series of tests, some loud, some quiet. And in that quiet victory, I realized that the most powerful strength comes from within, calm, composed, clever, unstoppable. That Christmas, I didn't just host a dinner, I reclaimed my peace, my home, and my self respect, all without raising my voice. And in that gentle, quiet way, I won.